Teenager Adam never knew the identity of his long-lost father, but after embarking on an adventure to solve the mystery once and for all, he discovers that his father is none other than the legendary Bigfoot. Today, we'll recap the story of the 2017 movie, The Son of Bigfoot. In the midst of a forest, a chase ensues. The agents of the pharmaceutical industry, who have distinctive haircuts, are in pursuit of Dr. Jim, with the help of hunting dogs. Despite their efforts, the man manages to climb a mountain of rocks and evade capture. However, Wallace continues to pursue the target in his helicopter, ordering his agents to shoot tranquilizer darts at him. Jim finds himself cornered at a waterfall and realizes he has nowhere to run. He decides to sacrifice his own life by throwing himself into the water from a great height. Little did his wife and young son know that he would never return home. Fast forward 12 years, and Adam is now a teenager. His classmates tease him about his hair while he is in detention. Tony and his gang stick gum in Adam's hair, prompting the teacher to send Tony to the principal's office. The delinquent swears to get revenge on Adam for being a snitch. While trying to remove the gum from his hair, Adam becomes enraged and his feet suddenly begin to grow. As a result, his sneakers are destroyed and he has to use toilet paper to cover the damage. While walking the school corridor, Adam can hear his classmates' cruel remarks about him with newfound clarity. Emma is a student who has a crush on Adam and tries to get to him, but he constantly rejects her. Adam believes that Emma is no different from his other classmates who bother him. One day, while running away from Tony's gang, Adam ends up in the gym where he's beaten up by them. When Adam returns home, he lies to his mother that he got hurt while playing with his friends. However, Shelley, Adam's mother, sees through his lie and decides to cut his hair. The next morning, Adam's hair grows back miraculously and he is shocked. He tries to cut it off again but ends up with a bad haircut. To cover up his hair, Adam wears Jim's hat, which belonged to his father, who passed away 12 years ago, making Shelley feeling sad. Adam decides to return to his mother, but she was scared by the boy's haircut and asked him to wear the hat to school. Meanwhile, in the hair care industry, Wallace advised his investors to surrender their cameras before entering the industry, where scientists are working on a formula to make hair grow back. This formula would help people with bald or thinning hair to no longer need to wear wigs. Dr. Billingsley, who is the head of research, used one of his trainees as a test subject to test his new product. At first, it seemed to be a success, but soon the boy's hair caught fire, indicating that the experiment was a failure. Tony and his classmates found out that they were suspended for fighting with Adam. When Adam was called into the principal's office, he was also suspended, even though he was the victim in the situation. The principal was strict about the school's rules, stating that any kind of fighting leads to suspension. Additionally, it was forbidden to wear any kind of hat inside the school, and the principal asked Adam to remove his cap. As Adam removes his cap, he realizes that his hair has grown back. He walks home feeling frustrated, and on the way, he is confronted again by Tony's gang. The bully steals Adam's hat, but he manages to break free and retrieve his father's hat. The delinquents chase Adam, but he uses his big feet to get rid of them and quickly runs home. Before leaving, the trio throws a rock through his window, causing damage. While cleaning up the wreckage, Adam finds a box hidden under the floor containing letters that his mother and father secretly exchanged over the years. When Shelley comes home, Adam confronts her and asks if she intended to tell him the truth. She claims that Jim is, in fact, alive, but she cannot provide any more information. Frustrated and disappointed with his mother, Adam looks at the address he found in the box and comes up with a plan to find his father. He sneaks out of his house in the middle of the night and tries to catch a ride on the road. After a few minutes in the rain, a truck driver offered to take the boy to Route 99. When Shelley entered her son's room, she realized that he was missing and soon discovered that Adam had gone out to search for Jim. When he arrived at Jim's supposed address, Adam found himself confused, as there were only trees around. Opening the mailbox, he found a squirrel that took a letter and ran into the woods. Adam tried to follow the squirrel, but he was too slow. After walking for a few minutes, the boy came across a beautiful view. However, his joy was short-lived and he was soon chased by a hairy creature. While trying to escape, Adam fell into a trap and rolled down the mountain. He ended up in the middle of the road where a truck driver caught him. The driver spotted a furry creature rescuing the boy. After arriving at the nearest diner, the man spread the news that he had filmed Bigfoot with his truck's camera. These rumors eventually reached Wallace's ears, and convinced by Dr. Billingsley, he sent all his agents to go after the truck driver. The man with the mustache was forced to reveal where he got the Bigfoot footage, and one of the agents found Adam's backpack nearby. Wallace then sent 2 of his men to Shelley's house, but when they found it empty, they broke in and started searching. Meanwhile, Shelley was driving desperately to her husband's address, because she believed that was where her son had gone. When Adam woke up, he was confronted by a hairy monster and was frightened. The creature claimed to be his father, which Adam couldn't believe at first. However, when he spotted the photos his mother had sent him over the past few years, he had to accept the fact that he was Bigfoot's son. The man explains that he had to run away because a pharmaceutical company wanted to use him as a lab test subject, and he did not want to put his family in danger. Jim faked his death to protect his wife and son from Wallace, who would have used them to blackmail him. Meanwhile, HairCo agents set up a roadblock to intercept Shelley, and she is taken in for questioning. When she meets with Wallace, he asks about her husband, and Shelley claims that he died many years ago. However, the businessman shows her a video that proves Jim is still alive and living hidden in the forest. Adam asks his father if he will turn into a hairy monster like himself, but Jim says no because Adam is already 13 years old and his hair has not begun to grow out of control. Although Adam has big feet, super hairy and fast-growing hair, his body is not entirely covered with hair. It seems like he only gathered the good characteristics of a Bigfoot, including the healing touch. Jim uses this ability to heal his son's injured leg after rescuing him from the road. Since Adam does not yet know his full potential, his father decides to take him to the forest to test his abilities. Together, they break into a bear's cave and pull a raccoon out of its den, causing Adam's feet to start growing widely, and his super hearing begins to bother him. Adam still needs to learn how to control his body, and Jim sets out to help him. Bigfoot begins teaching his son how to concentrate on one sound at a time and how to use his big feet to run past. However, during their training session, Adam crashed into a branch and fell to the ground. Jim, a man who had an even more impressive ability, came to help Adam up and revealed that he could communicate with animals. Steve, a red-headed woodpecker, appeared, and to Adam's surprise, he could understand what Steve was saying. Trapper the raccoon and his wife also appeared. As they were walking through the forest, a gigantic bear approached them, ready to attack. However, to Adam's surprise, the bear was actually a great friend of his father, Jim, and despite its size, the bear named Wilbur was incapable of harming anyone. As they were introducing themselves, Tina announced the arrival of hunters in the forest. The team quickly put their plan into action. Tina destroyed the bullets and put them back in the rifle, while Wilbur appeared to scare off the hunters. The hunters then shot the bear with blanks, and the animal pretended to be shot. The hunters believed that the bear was dead and even took pictures with it. Suddenly, the animal got up to attack them again, causing the hunters to run away in fear, believing that it was a zombie bear. After the scare in the forest, Adam declares that it was the coolest thing he has ever seen and expresses his desire to make up for lost time with his father. They cool off by jumping into the lake and then race while avoiding geysers. Later, Jim teaches his son to play the guitar that he made. Hoping to reconnect with his father, Adam then invites Jim to go home with him. But Bigfoot warns them that it would put them all in danger. Jim shares that he studied the growth of his hair while in medical school and discovered a rare genetic mutation in his blood that causes his hair to grow at a much faster rate than any other human. When Wallace learned of his experiments, he tried to hire him, but Jim refused and his laboratory was destroyed, and all of his research was stolen. As a result, Jim had to disappear to keep his family safe since they were being followed everywhere they went. Unknown to HairCo, Adam also has the same genetic mutation as his father, but they left him and his mother alone. While rummaging through the trash for food, the raccoon couple sees Shelley being taken away by HairCo security guards. During dinner, Jim and Adam receive the news that Shelley has been taken away. To worsen the situation, a group of armed men invaded the forest at Wallace's command with the sole purpose of finding Bigfoot to resolve the situation. Adam ran towards the soldiers and asked them to take him back home. When he found his mother, he told her that his father was hiding in a tunnel under the waterfall. Wallace was monitoring them and sent his men directly to the reported location. However, this was a trap, as Adam already knew that they were being monitored. As one of the agents descended the tunnel, a strong current of water threw him back up, causing fear in Wallace, who ordered his men to take Shelley home while he took Adam to serve as bait to lure Bigfoot. Wallace drove to a remote part of the forest where his agents were already in place to burn the place down. After leaving, he pushed the vehicle directly into the flames, believing that Jim would show up to save his son. Adam tried to escape, but the glass was too hot, and he was not strong enough to break it. Just as he was about to pass out, his father appeared and ripped the roof off the car to rescue his son. Now, the young man was safe, but Jim had been hit by a tranquilizer dart and was captured. Wilbur arrived to help, but could only save Adam as the fire prevented him from saving his friend. While Bigfoot was being taken away, the boy fainted, and upon waking up, his forest friends blamed him for luring the men into the forest and left to find another place to live, since part of the forest was destroyed. Adam apologized for his mistake and revealed his plan to rescue his father, but he needed the help of his new friends. Tina was the first to accept the challenge, and eventually they all decided to help, knowing that Jim would risk himself to save them if they were in danger. In one of HairCo's laboratories, Dr. Billingsley studied his newest guinea pig. Jim woke up and said he would soon be able to free himself from that place. However, Wallace offered him a deal. If Jim resisted, the man would use all his power and influence to make life as difficult as possible for his family. But if Jim cooperated with the research and agreed to be the guinea pig in the experiment, Wallace would consider him his partner, and his family would receive a lot of money. Worried about Adam and his wife's future, Jim decided to give up his freedom and accept his life as a large lab rat. After the last vehicle for haircuts leave the forest, Adam and his friends catch a ride. But Wilbur, the clumsy bear, is left behind. He jumps into the vehicle and hides in the ceiling with the rest of the team. However, the agents realize that something is amiss and get out of the car to investigate. Finding nothing, they return to the vehicle and continue their journey to the hair care industry. On the way, Steve takes the opportunity to eat some insects. Back at the lab, Dr. Billingsley reports that he has successfully extracted the entire DNA sequence from Bigfoot. The man tests his invention on the trainee, and as a result, all his body hair immediately starts growing. The formula is almost ready by the time they arrive at HairCo. Adam uses his super hearing to locate his father, but Jim is still too far away for him to hear. As Steve destroys the security cameras, the rest of the team approaches the lab. Trapper tries to cut the glass with his fingernails, but his plan goes wrong and the entire glass is destroyed. Suddenly, the security alarm goes off and the agents detect an invasion. Wilbur destroys the door to the security room and the watchman faints upon seeing the bear. They equip themselves to fight the guards, but Wilbur manages to take down most of them by himself, even dodging the tranquilizer darts. Adam gets captured and his friends are surrounded, but the bear comes to their rescue. A new security team arrives and Wilbur and Tina stay behind while Adam goes to look for his father. Adam uses his large feet to run to the lab while Wilbur gets captured after receiving multiple darts in his belly. When Adam finds his father, Jim asks him to leave and says that he will stay in the lab to keep his family safe. At that moment, Wallace appears and takes Adam outside. In the corridors, Adam sees his friends locked in cages and begins to think of a plan to free them. He triggers the fire alarm and the doors close. The sprinklers activate and the security guards run away so that their wigs are not destroyed. When the doors opened again, all the employees ran away from the supposed fire, and Wallace was dragged out. Meanwhile, Adam opened Tina's cage and asked her to free all the others. The boy then returned to the lab and released his father. Jim stated that he would stay in the lab, but Adam threatened to tell Wallace that he was also a Bigfoot to prevent his son from being arrested. Jim decided to accompany him. Meanwhile, Shelley was waiting for Adam's arrival at home. When one of the security guards went to the bathroom, he found the hair of the Bigfoot and informed Wallace that Adam was also a Bigfoot. Jim and Adam released all the gases in the building and intended to set it on fire, but they got trapped inside and had to escape through the pipes. Just as they were about to reach the exit, Wallace and his men were waiting for them. Shelley appeared shortly afterward and saw her husband being shot. Now that he knew that Adam was also a Bigfoot, the businessman no longer needed Jim and throws him over the cliff. Adam, filled with anger, uses his flare gun to cause a massive explosion in the building. The security guards manage to save themselves before the bridge is destroyed, but unfortunately, Wallace doesn't make it. When Adam finds his father Jim severely injured, he's convinced that he won't survive. However, during his grieving, he discovers that he has the ability to heal. Within minutes, Jim is fully recovered, and his friends show up to congratulate Adam. Now, he can truly call himself a Bigfoot. Just as they are celebrating, Wallace miraculously appears, pointing a gun at the group. Fortunately, Shelley shows up in time to take him down. After 12 years, the family is reunited, and Trapper uses the opportunity to mock Wallace's wig. Weeks later, Wallace is convicted and sent to jail. Adam now has all his friends reunited, and Trapper and the witch's daughters are born and become part of the family. On the way to school, Tony and his friends approach Adam, trying to pick a fight. Despite Adam's attempts to persuade them to leave, they are determined to start trouble. In the end, Adam calls on his friends for help. Suddenly, Wilbur appeared behind the kids and scared them immensely. The three of them ran away, but fortunately, they had an accident on the way. The Trapper daughters had removed all the bolts from their bicycles. When they arrived at the house, Emma appeared, and Adam asked her to go to school together. At that moment, Adam's feet grew back, and Emma noticed that he was different. She liked him even more because of it. It seems like little Bigfoot has finally found a new friend and will no longer feel so alone at school. Thank you for watching this recap of The Son of Bigfoot. If you haven't seen the movie yet, be sure to check it out. It's a heartwarming and action-packed adventure that is sure to entertain the whole family. Now, speaking of adventures, let's swing over to another classic tale of the wild, Tarzan. While The Son of Bigfoot is a story of a boy discovering his true identity and embracing his unique abilities, Tarzan is a story of a boy raised by apes who must navigate a world that is both familiar and foreign to him. Both stories share themes of self-discovery, belonging, and the power of family. So, if you are in the mood for a thrilling jungle adventure, be sure to check out Tarzan as well. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.